The FIA's regulations have been the hottest topic in 2026 so far, and it seems like one tweak will put Ferrari up in contention. The statements made by Antonelli and Wolff are a direct indicator of the threat that Mercedes feels from the Maranello-based squad, and with Leclerc stating the areas of improvement for Ferrari, this season is far from over. Furthermore, Mercedes' intra-team battle is poised to make the battle with Ferrari even more interesting. And all of a sudden, we have a championship fight on our hands. So, what is this infamous rule that's set to benefit the Italian team? And when could we see them competing for race wins? There is no doubt that the 2026 season started heavily in Mercedes' favour, but with the new regulations being a subject of change, there is one thing that will keep the Silver Arrows alerted: the ADUO, or Additional Development and Upgrade Opportunities. This is a set of regulations that allows inferior engines to close the gap to the leader, in this case Mercedes, depending on the percentage of advantage that the superior team has. If it's between 2% and 4%, then the inferior engine manufacturers can bring one specific upgrade, and if it's more than 4%, then the teams are granted more concessions and 2 upgrades in between rounds 6, 12, and 18. The advantage that Mercedes has is quite significant. On average, the W17 is half a second faster than the second team, and with the expectations being that this will change from Miami onwards, the ADUO can only help the teams to a greater extent. What I mean by that is the unplanned 5-week break due to the tensions in the Middle East, making the Miami GP the actual 4th GP rather than the planned 6th. Discussions are still being led when it comes to whether this is the race where we can see the first upgrades regarding the ADUO. But if we are to believe the report from the paddock, Ferrari will gain tons of performance based on it. The primary weakness of the SF26 compared to the W17 comes from the engine. Even though the overall concept of the car is important, it's not as weak as this compartment. Both the energy deployment and maximum internal combustion engine output are where Mercedes manages to excel in comparison to Ferrari. And that's why Ferrari are in great hope that in Miami, if the FIA doesn't change the chronological order of counting the races, they can bring upgrades to their engine. And this is something that has been spoken about by Kimi Antonelli, the championship leader, who believes that there will be major changes in the championship as we know it, primarily because of the ADUO. Speaking further on this matter, Antonelli highlighted the already strong engine of Ferrari receiving a massive boost under these regulations, and that they will be much closer to them from the next round onwards, elaborating. If they manage to improve the engine as well, they'll close the gap even more. I am also sure that we will bring some important updates. The car is already strong, and there's a great dynamic within the team. So, I'm not too worried, but I am aware that the other teams will catch up sooner or later. The worry of Antonelli isn't unfounded. We've seen how much better Ferrari gets from race to race, and more importantly, we've seen that they can hold Mercedes behind if they want to. In Japan, Leclerc had a great battle with Russell, and on such tracks when battery deployment doesn't matter as much, Ferrari will be slight favourites compared to Mercedes. Combine that with the engine upgrade that they'll receive under ADUO, and you have a championship battle on your hands. And we've received it in the perfect timeline possible after just 3 races in 2026. Yes, it would have been great if the teams could gather more data from Jeddah and Bahrain, but that is something that the FIA cannot interfere in, and therefore with 2 fewer races on the calendar, Ferrari hopes that this is the thing that would bring them much closer to competition with Mercedes. The fact that Toto Wolff isn't getting carried away by the successful start of his team speaks volumes about how much he is worried about the ADUO benefiting Ferrari. For the Austrian team principal, it would have been much better if the caravan had raced in Jeddah and Bahrain, and they would have been able to gather more points before the ADUO actually takes place. But these things are unplanned, and now Mercedes finds itself in a very dangerous and rather vulnerable position because of the FIA's rules. Speaking about what's going to hurt them the most from Miami onwards, Wolff said, "What looked like a home run in the first 2 races for us isn't the case, and we've always warned. Miami is going to be, for me, a restart. How are the upgrades going to work that people are bringing? How have we optimized all the other systems? It's going to be exciting. We need to stay on the ground. Furthermore, the race starts have been far from optimal for Mercedes. In Japan, Antonelli dropped from 1st to 5th, while Russell also lost a couple of places. And this is a place where Ferrari and McLaren have succeeded a lot. In the first couple of races, we've seen that Mercedes was always able to get back to the top thanks to the superiority of their engine. But that won't always be the case now that Miami is poised to be a great comeback story for the Maranello-based squad. And this is precisely where Leclerc feels the advantage of his team lies. If they can continue nailing the race starts and disrupt Mercedes in the early stages of the race, then they have a legitimate shot at defending the positions and stealing more points away from the Silver Arrows. Elaborating further on this, the Monegasque said, "Our only chance to stay with Mercedes is to annoy them in the first few laps, but as soon as they get free air, then they've shown their real pace in the last race. And I think there are still these 4 or 5 tenths that we've seen throughout the first 2 races. So, it's still a significant advantage. But yes, that doesn't discourage me, and again, we have some things in the pipeline." Fred Vasseur was also very happy with the upcoming weekend in Miami. The Frenchman is in strong belief that his team is going to be much more competitive, not just because of the ADUO, but the rear wing as well. The infamous Macarena rear wing is poised to debut in Miami, and if reports from the team are to be believed, it's going to bring a couple of tenths of an advantage to the SF26 over 1 lap. This is crucial not just for qualifying, but also for keeping Ferrari in touch with Mercedes after the race start. We've seen that they are very good at overtaking once the lights go out, but keeping those positions is something that's going to be challenging. But then again, the internal drama in Mercedes is also benefiting Ferrari a lot. Russell and Antonelli are now their own biggest enemies, and that's something that Leclerc and Hamilton can capitalize on a lot with the new regulation change. Russell is now challenged by a sophomore in the team that he had to wait 3 years to join. And with all the pressure on his shoulders, he might want to take a bit more aggressive approach when it comes to racing Antonelli. This usually means fierce fights that often lead to crashes, and that's something they cannot afford in this early phase of the championship. But there is only one driver who can be crowned at the end of the season. Right now, Ferrari's hopes lie in the ADUO that will take place from Miami onwards, and if the gap from Mercedes proves to be more than 4%, then in races 12 and 18, we're going to see even more upgrades from the Maranello-based squad. Therefore, this season is all but over, and that's precisely why Mercedes needs to take things seriously. Ferrari is here, and we're likely going to watch an intense battle in the championship in both categories. With all this in mind, what do you think about the ADUO? And more importantly, do you think it's going to benefit Ferrari from Miami onwards? Let us know in the comments below.